When my mom passed, I remember thinking, because she had chronic pain, she had all kinds of stuff wrong with her. She had fallen, and she had compression fractures, and she had kidney failure, and she had diabetes, and she had heart failure, and she had COPD, and in fact she had, for years, she suffered with asthma and emphysema. She had dementia, so she had all this stuff, and one day she fell, and she was really miserable, and she had a stroke-like activity, and with a seizure experience, that's what they call it. And she bit her tongue, and so the whole day she said, oh, I feel so bad, what happened, what happened, what happened? And I said, Mother, you had a stroke. And why did I have a stroke? I said, Mother, and I said, I don't know, but you do. Oh, I didn't have a stroke. I said, yes, Mother, you had a stroke. And she could hardly speak, and she kept talking and talking and talking because she felt so bad. And I was getting weary by 9 o'clock at night, and she said to me, and she kept asking questions, and the only way I could calm her down was we would sing. And I would sing, and she'd sing the old hymns, and we were singing the song, years I spent at Calvary. And part of the song was, mercy there was great and grace was free. And then she put her own words, and she went, oh, I feel so, it was supposed to be, mercy there was great and grace was free. Pardon there was multiplied to me. My mother changed it and said, mercy there was great and grace was free. Oh, I feel so bad, what happened to me? I can't sing that song anymore. But as she was feeling so bad, I said to her, she said to me, why? 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 And I said, remember, I'm the professional. Mother, you're getting old. You never tell people they're getting old. We're all getting old. And she goes, well, and she opens up and went, well, how old am I? I said, Mother, you're 86. She says, I'm not 86. I says, Mother, you're 86 years old. She says, why do you say I'm 86? I says, because you are 86. You're 86. I'm arguing with the person with dementia who's just had a stroke-like experience with seizure activity. And I'm trying to get her all online, and I'm a professional. And she looks at me and she goes, why do you say I'm 86? I says, because you are. She goes, no, I'm not. I says, Mother, why don't you feel 86? I said, why don't you think you're 86? And she goes, because I don't feel 86. I said, Mother, you have fractures, you have asthma, you have emphysema, you have kidney failure. I named all the stuff wrong with her. I said, why don't you think you feel 86? And she opened up one eye and looked at me. She goes, I don't know, but it must be worse than this. When she passed, I just felt those heavy chains that were holding her to earth. Let her go. Hard things. We all have them. I challenge you as you look, and sometimes this is a spiritual journey. And let me ask you this question. When you think of the hard times in life, we were in a restaurant, we were speaking in Hawaii, someone had to go, so we said we would. And we were in this restaurant, they had a big blue line that went all across the restaurant. And I could just touch the bottom of that line. And underneath was writing, and it said, high watermark of tidal wave of 1961. I thought, oh, big, that restaurant had water that high. Now, that had to be one of the worst days of that proprietor's life, correct? When that water was that high. And think when all that water receded, and all the gunk, like my little friend had, and as they're going through the muck and the gunk and all of this kind of stuff, it had to be so hard. But now, 20, 40, 30 years later, they look at this and says, look what we've survived. Our World War II veterans look at this and say, I survived the Battle of the Bulge. Our high water marks. The caregiving high water marks. The laws of health high water marks. The children rebel. Well, I always spit in the front row, sorry. The children who rebel high water marks. I think of my own mother and the high water marks that she's had. But let me ask you this question when you think of your high water marks, and every one of us have high water marks. How many of you grew more emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically in the tough times than the easy times? Raise your hand. That's right. It's hard. So sometimes we need to just say, okay, I'm going to grow through this. By the way, that's only the first point. My time is almost up. I have 5 minutes left. Let me quickly share something else. Look at the positive in yourself. Look at the positive in others. Look at the positive in your circumstances. Sometimes it's going to take discipline, and I suggest to you, we also need to do this. We need to also look for the humor. I'll have to come back sometime and do my humor workshop. But we need to look at the humor, because sometimes it really is, like some of the stuff I gave you today with my mother and my little lady, both sets. Those were hard situations, but we look at the humor. And the humor will get you through it. Now, the key with humor, with a gallows humor, you laugh at yourself, not at others. That's very key. So you look at the humor. And then, for you as caregivers as well, We need to live our life with gratitude. And that goes back to looking at the positive. But we need to count our blessings. We need to look at what we have, not at what we don't have. We need to look at what we have. I remember one of my residents, Catherine, who had chronic pain, and she was just such a wonderful encouragement to me. And she would walk, and she couldn't raise her hands higher like this. And one day I jumped up on a chair and I said, "Give me something you're grateful for today." And Catherine one lady raised her hand and said, "I got my teeth realigned. Bring on the meat." Another one said, "I didn't have to get up and go to the bathroom last night. I got 15 more minutes of sleep." And then Catherine raised her hand like this. And I said, "Catherine, what are you grateful for?" And I will never forget this as long as I live. She looked at me with her big brown eyes and she says, "I'm thankful for my walker. Because I have my walker, I can come to the dining room and have lunch with my friends." And I thought, God, don't ever let me forget. We need to be thankful for the canes and for the walkers and for the assistants. And by the way, when we look at what we're grateful for, you got to put this place down. And the support that you see, sometimes we think you're alone. You're not alone. There's other people that are going to come alongside of you. You've got government programs that will help you. You're not alone. I should be a preacher, but Bible churches don't have women preachers, so I'm out of there. But it's true, you're not alone. So you count your blessings. You look at what you have. And you are grateful for them. I challenge, and I do this myself every day. Before I get out of bed, studies show that if you look at what you're grateful for, the things you're thankful for, it's going to change your whole outlook of the day. They did this with college students who are also depressed and stressed. And they made a marked difference. So before you get out of bed, or when you wake up at 3 and you're thinking, "Oh, I got all this to do," list 5 things for which you are grateful. Could be your children, it could be your grandchildren, it could be the fact that you have electric. By the way, when you lose power, then you really realize it, don't you? It could be the fact that you can still walk with 2 feet. It could be the fact that you have a walker. It could be a fact that you have somebody that's going to help you as a caregiver. This morning I thought to myself, I'm grateful. I'm going to ride down here and I'm going to look at the colored trees. And yes, it's going to be cloudy, but I'm still going to enjoy it. It made 5 things for which you're grateful. I challenge you to do this every day because it's going to make a difference. And then also with that, when you do that, also think of something you're grateful for your partners, for your care receivers. Marion Dolan put it this way. "Lady, are you rich?" They huddled inside the storm door, 2 children in ragged outgrown coats. "Any old papers, lady?" I was busy. I wanted to say no until I looked down at their feet, thin little sandals, and they were sopped with sleet. "Come in and I'll make you a cup of hot cocoa." There was no conversation. Their saggy sandals left marks on my hearthstone. I served them cocoa and toast with jam to fortify them against the chill outside. Then I went back to the kitchen and started once again in my household budget. The silence in the front room struck me, so I went in and looked. The girl held the empty cup in her hands, looking at it. The boy asked in a flat voice, "Lady, are you rich?" Am I rich? Mercy, no. I looked at my shabby slip covers. The girl put the cup back in its saucer carefully. Your cups match your saucers. Her voice was old with a hunger that was not of the stomach. They left then holding their bundles of papers against the wind, and they hadn't said thank you. They didn't need to. They'd done much more for me than that. Plain blue pottery cups and saucers, but they matched. I tested the potatoes and stirred the gravy. Potatoes and gravy, a roof over my head. These things matched too. I moved the chairs back from the fire and I tidied the living room. Those muddy prints, I let them be. You see, I want them there in case I forget how very rich I am. Sir, are you rich? Lady, are you rich? Let's look at what we have. Whether it's the Meals on Wheels program, whether it's the matching pottery cups, the abilities that we have, we are so rich. In closing, live a life of gratitude. Look at the positive. And then you are doing this, living a life of service, making a difference, touching someone. We take, and you as a caregiver, turn the mundane into the magical. Every time you swab a mouth, every time you wipe a brow, every time you prepare food, every time you move somebody in their wheelchair, I challenge you, you are turning the mundane into the magical for your care receiver. As a care receiver, I experienced that. And you turn the mundane into the magical. You're living a life of service. So, in closing, and as we think of this, there's a couple of challenges. Number one, you need to remember that every one of us at some time are probably going to be a caregiver, and all of us are going to be care receivers as well. And so right now, let's practice and do the best we can, because people are watching. What you are teaching your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your neighbors, you are teaching people how to age and how to die. And we teach them that. So, begin your day asking yourself, how am I going to enjoy it? List 5 things you are grateful for. And then remember, you do make a difference, one-on-one and one-to-one. So you ask yourself, who can I love today? What mundane action can I turn into the magical? God bless you. Thank you.